Rise Mzansis. Payoff line is 2024 is our 1994. We know that the party declined joining the Multi-Party Charter Pact, a 7-party pact designed to unseat the ANC at next year's general election. Well, Rise Mzansis leader Songezo Zibi joins us now for more analysis. Songezo, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Firstly, why did you decline to join the Moonshot Pact?
The Moonshot Pact is not an idea that we believe is the right one for us, especially at this time. As I'm speaking to you, I'm at the National Convention, the People's Convention at Constitution Hill. And we are discussing with hundreds of delegates what our manifesto should be, what should be in our manifesto, and what we should do with the South African people. It is really not a good idea to get involved in deal making for power before you have set out a very clear agenda. That is the first thing. The second thing is we believe that to the extent that there is political cooperation between different organizations, that should be on the basis of what the actual solutions that you're working on, not the idea of being against one or other political party, as badly and as terrible the ANC is for the South African people at this point.
And speaking of manifestos, Songezo, what are Rise Mzansis' principles and policies as we head to the polls next year? What are you offering voters that is different from current political parties? Very interesting to note that those actually involve issues around mental health and other social ills.
The specifics of the manifesto will begin with a declaration tomorrow, and then the actual comprehensive manifesto in the next 4 to 5 weeks. However, what I would say is what we're setting out to do over this weekend and what we set out to do over the last few months, half a year almost, is to frame the priorities and the issues affecting South Africans, South African families, and South African communities in the manner in which they experience. And mental health is one of the issues that has come up. For instance, juvenile justice has come up, drug abuse has come up as an issue. Of course, there's job creation, the economy, immigration, and so on. But we feel that it is really important that when we frame the issues in our manifesto, anybody who reads it finds it relatable, and that it speaks to 80-90% of the issues they deal with every day, and in the manner in which they experience them.
Now, you say that a membership model doesn't necessarily guarantee a vote, Songezo, but organizing does. Tell us more about that.
So I think what we've seen in South African political culture, and this is one of the things from the onset we set out to avoid and to change, and that to succeed in politics, and politics understanding it broadly, not just as electoral politics, organizing and mobilization are really critical throughout the 5 years between an election, to work on issues that are important at a local level, at a regional level, and at a national level. What we find is that political parties sign up members so that they can elect people into positions within the organization, but they don't deal with the issues. So Rise Mzansis rather recruits volunteers and organizers, because our political culture is to work every day to solve issues, however small. Obviously, within our means, we're not the government, we don't have money, but we can find people to work on drug rehabilitation programs. We can find people to work on mental health issues, to help gogos that have got issues with bills in the municipality and so on. That's what politics is. You don't need members for that. You need volunteers and you need organizers.
Now, a lot of people are saying that South Africans have political party fatigue, in that there's always new or breakaway parties, and most of these newcomers might not even be relevant in the current political climate. What do you say to this, Songezo?
South Africa's problem is that South Africans don't like existing political parties. When you have 41 million eligible voters and 28 million don't turn up at all, you can't blame that on small parties. People simply don't want to vote. And what I explained to you about the organizer and volunteer model is seeking to address the very thing that is turning people off the polls. Because what happens is political parties, big and small, old and new, go to people and say, if you vote for me next year, I will sort out your life. Of course, that never happens. Rise Mzansis does things differently. As I have described, we work in communities every single day. And politics really should be about solving issues that affect people on a daily basis, not just through the ballot. And that's what turns people off politics.
And is your party currently conducting political education as to why it's a suitable alternative for the voters? Are you out there organizing, as you say, and letting people know you have arrived, so to speak?
We have been doing that. In fact, even before we talk to people about why they should vote for Rise Mzansis, we talk to people about their political rights, about democracy, about their role in democracy and what democracy should mean to them, and why the localized organizing around issues in the communities and that affect families is what politics should be about. Through that process of getting involved with what we term civic issues in colloquial language, they get to see and understand the character of Rise Mzansis and sign up to its mission. Anybody who was here yesterday and anybody who was here this morning will tell you the atmosphere was so electric. We are working on something special. We're building something special that South Africa has not seen before.
And in closing, Songezo, how are your numbers looking in terms of membership? Will you meet the threshold to compete for the polls next year?
So, like I said, we don't do members. It's volunteers and supporters of Rise Mzansis, people who are indicating that they would like to get involved in our journey. We are confident that with the tens of thousands of volunteers now that we already have at this point, and some full-time organizers that work with those volunteers, we are on track to be a party that will not be ignored in how South Africa is governed next year. I'd like to put it like that. I know it's clunky, but we will have a significant influence on South Africa's political future next year.
All right, Songezo, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. That was Songezo Zibi, the leader of Rise Mzansis, telling us more about the election campaign as we head to the polls next year.